This was Local 627. This was the Black Musicians Union from 1917 to 1970. The thing about this place is that it's actually considered to be the place where jam session got its name. And we're credited for the swing era of jazz, the creation of the swing era of jazz in America.
It's the oldest jazz house in the world. It's where Charlie Parker started. And it's a group that we've been working with for a long time, trying to realize increased connectivity, better connectivity for their neighborhood, which is really the epicenter of historic Black Kansas City.
Isaac told me about this project that he was working on with the BEU, the Black Economic Union, and the Mutual Musicians Foundation about this community-owned network, sending a wireless signal from downtown over to here, and then actually distributing that signal to the community.
The Free Network Foundation was incorporated in May of 2011. We don't build networks for people. We teach people how to build networks outside of going and asking a for-profit company to come serve them and do it for them.
The Free Network Foundation is seeking to build a more secure and private internet infrastructure using mesh networking.
The network is the material network that everybody cooperates to build and is held as a commons. And within that network, you can go wherever you like. One of those places you might like to go is to a gateway to the internet.
You know, one of the misnomers is free as in no cost, but really the free and the Free Network Foundation is about freedom. So it's about access, it's about agreeable terms of service, those type of things.
Finally, the Mutual Musicians Foundation recently has decided, you know, we're just gonna do this.
They have put in like $1,500 to build a tower to bring in connectivity into their neighborhood and start to build there.
The internet within the community is perceived to be something, well, since we can't afford it, we won't worry about it. At home, it's not available where it should be. It is such a deep cut in the pocket of a single person, a single-headed household in an urban community, that it is considered to be a luxury when everybody else sees it as a necessity.
Finally this week, after months of secrecy, Google has finally announced that its big Google Fiber project will be launching in Kansas City.
Good morning, Kansas City.
Google Fiber starts with internet speeds up to a gigabit a second.
Here are our 3 packages. Hopefully you're excited about at least one of them. We're going to deploy our network wherever there's enough interest, and we're going to build sooner in areas where there's most interest. You know exactly where you stand and how many more households you need to go rally. When you participate in the rally, not only are you bringing fiber to your home, you're bringing fiber to Kansas Cityans that you care about. So let's do this for Kansas City.
Let's do this for Kansas City.
Let's do this for Kansas City.
For Kansas City.
For Kansas City.
Let's do this for Kansas City. Let's do this for Kansas City.
When they came into the community, there was a lot of excitement. You know, yay, we're gonna, but then when the criteria came down, we knew that this wasn't us. We knew that whoever sat on the table and said, we're gonna put the little rabbit in front of your face and everything, and everybody's gonna love it, and the billboards are gonna be all in the hood. And after we got the message, we got the message. This is not for you.
Everybody I've ever met from Google has been of pure intention and pure heart and wants to do right and thinks they're doing right, and in some ways is doing right. The problem with Google is that they are a monolith, right? They're gigantic.
I can relate to Google's lack of understanding of the issues that are faced within our community here in Kansas City. You know, it's almost like 2 state lines. You know, there's a state line between KCK and KCMO, and then there's this economic line represented by Troost. 5 blocks that way, they're talking about 1,000 up, 1,000 down. In this community, we're talking about just getting people online.
Let's examine why we're prioritizing ultra fast access to servers that can't even respond at the speed that you're connected to them at. over getting the 25% of our city that has no access whatsoever online? Why is that our priority?
I don't think we knew the magnitude of, how much we were gonna have to be out there in people's neighborhoods talking to them about it in order to get them to sign up. There's not early adapters all the time. It's people who sometimes don't even understand the value of the web.
The technology needs to be presented in a cultural fashion, and it needs to be understood that this is something that is going to perpetuate the community, the thoughts and virtual opportunities for the community, because that's how we still think.
Would you rather rent your home and then the landlord has to do the maintenance, the landlord has to pay the taxes, the landlord has to do that stuff, but you don't own it, you don't have any equity? Or would you rather own your own home? And that's the basic decision is, are we gonna do for ourselves, or are we gonna let somebody else do and pay them for it?
For a community network to survive, it needs to be sustainable. So by the time we've built this first network, they'll have the assets to do it again, to grow this network further east, further north, further south, and crucially have the job skills to support it and then potentially be paid to do it for other communities, let's say. The biggest message is empowering the community to support itself.
Right before I moved back to Kansas City, I went to speak to a class of graduate students at NYU's ITP program and described the architecture. They were fairly technical, they caught on very quickly, and then they asked a question that a lot of technicians ask. Okay, well, how are you going to interconnect the cities, right? You have this architecture for cities, but how are you going to interconnect them? And we said, space balloons. We're going to launch balloons into the stratosphere, and they're going to have microwave equipment on them. We've investigated it. We know the law. We know what we need to do. It's just a matter of time. And more or less, we were laughed out of the room. And then Google announces it, and Gizmodo goes nuts,
Yep, that's right. Balloons. Because it turns out that if you use balloons, it's faster and easier and cheaper to give everyone the internet than it is to give some people the internet.
I worry that people in general, they don't want to imagine alternative possibilities, alternative worlds. They want to let the monoliths of this world do their imagining for them. And that for me is very sad and very, very challenging when I think about it. So I try not to think about it.
It feels like an experiment. They're coming to town, they're offering these services, they're understanding they need to educate the community as to what they're offering as well. Ultimately, they're finding a very different culture here than maybe what they're exposed to out west.